Welcome to Inside the Pickle Jar, a podcast where we dive into the wonderfully quirky world of neurodiversity. I'm Tonya Weaver, your friendly neighborhood relationship coach specializing in neurodiverse individuals and neurodivergent myself. From communication tips to managing those "did you really just say that" moments, every episode will share real-life stories, expert advice, and practical strategies to help you tackle obstacles and build stronger, more fulfilling connections. Listen on to Inside the Pickle Jar, where every connection matters, every pickle has its place. Hey everybody, here I am. I'm in my baseball cap today. Had a lot going on, and I'm still working on my own executive function, as we talked about in a previous episode. But today I want to talk about something that is close to my heart. First of all, welcome. This is Inside the Pickle Jar. And we're going to talk a lot about the diversity of the human mind and a lot of the unique strengths that it brings to the world. But we're also going to talk today about neurodiversity and mental health. It's something that I know a lot of those of us that are neurodivergent, it's a struggle on many levels. And I just want to make a note, I'm not a therapist. I'm not a licensed mental health professional. The information that and insights that I share on this podcast today are strictly for educational and informational purposes only, and they should not be considered as professional advice or a diagnosis. So if you have concerns about your mental health, please consult a qualified healthcare provider. So, just a brief overview. Neurodivergent individuals often face unique mental health challenges. And so today we're going to explore how these challenges manifest, the impact that they have, and maybe some strategies for supporting mental well-being. Again, not a diagnosis, but some of this information might be a repeat from earlier episodes, but it's particularly relevant here. And if you haven't heard any of the previous episodes, it's a good place to kind of get started. So, at the beginning, I just want to review and have an understanding of the intersection of neurodiversity and mental health. And neurodivergent individuals include anyone with like ADHD, autism, dyslexia, dyspraxia, Tourette's, dyscalculia, and they often experience mental health conditions such as anxiety, depression, and stress. So I just mentioned a little bit about what neurodiversity is, but it's a term that recognizes and celebrates the diversity of human brains and minds. And it's the intersection of the neurotypical and the neurodiverse. And appreciating neurodiversity emphasizes that neurological differences are not deficits or disorders, but they are natural variations of the human experience. And it's an advocate, those advocates, they argue for understanding and accepting those differences rather than trying to fix or normalize the neurodivergent. So here's a slightly closer look at what that means. So the differences in brain function and behavior. There are varied cognitive styles. Neurodivergent highlights the different ways people process information, the way they learn and interact with the world. And for instance, some individuals might have exceptional memory skills, while others excel in pattern recognition or creative thinking. I just had an interesting uh, experience yesterday. Uh, I I work for Procter and Gamble. My main internal job is I'm a category advisor slash manager, and I also own a lot of the item attribution. And we were looking up a specific UPC, and my boss, was trying to find out what was going on with this particular item. And out of the blue, I had remembered it and I just typed it in from memory. And he says, "You remembered that?" To which I said, "Yeah, it's one of the features of my brain. I just have a way of memorizing numbers and I can't explain why." And he says, "Oh, I feel sorry for you." He kind of knows that I have all this stuff in my head. but I have the hardest time remembering people's names. So, but then there's also behavioral variability, and behaviors that may seem unconventional or atypical are viewed through the lens of neurodiversity as different expressions of human experience rather than abnormalities. For example, a person with autism might have unique ways of communicating and expressing emotions, and that's sort of where stemming comes from. It's just the ability for people to manage and work through some of their manifestations of stress. And then there are some common neurodivergent conditions. And neurodiversity encompasses a pretty wide range of conditions that are characterized by differences in neurological development and functioning. So here are some of the most common ones. There are attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder, otherwise known as ADHD. And the characteristics of that is that ADHD is symptoms of inattention, usually with hyperactivity and impulsivity, and having trouble controlling those impulsivity um, symptoms. People with ADHD also might have difficulty focusing on tasks, staying organizing, and controlling their impulses. So, some of the strengths of ADHD, these individuals often display very high degrees of creativity and spontaneity, and they do have the ability to hyper focus on tasks they find interesting or stimulating. It's the boring stuff that it's difficult to focus on for very long. And I really have to use what I call batching in order to get these difficult things, knowing that I get the reward of a break at the end. And then there's autism spectrum disorder, also known as ASD. And those characteristics that affects social interaction, communication, interests, and behavior. People with autism might prefer routine, have specific interests, and find social interactions challenging. It's part of the reason why I read so many manners books, and I do know that I tend to, well, we call it perseverate, and stay hyper focused on a specific topic in a conversation to the detriment of relationships. Um, But the strengths of that are that they possess exceptional attention to detail, deep focus on specific interests, and very strong visual and spatial skills. Then there's dyslexia, and those characteristics, typically dyslexia affects reading and language processing. People with dyslexia may struggle with reading fluently or spelling and decoding words. But their strengths are that they have strong problem-solving skills and creativity and the ability to think outside the box. Dyspraxia, which is a developmental coordination disorder, it affects physical coordination. It makes tasks such as writing or tying shoelaces challenging, and it can also impact organizational skills and speech. But the strengths that they have is that they often excel in areas requiring abstract thinking, creativity, such as art, music. Then dyscalculia. This is an interesting one. I just recently met somebody who was diagnosed with dyscalculia, and it affects their ability to understand numbers and learn math concepts. It can make tasks like calculating change or telling time and managing budgets difficult. But they are really strong in doing things unrelated to numerical processing, like storytelling, visual arts, and empathetic understanding. And the person that I met recently, I'm hoping to have a guest on my show. He rose very high up in her organization into leadership, despite the fact that she had dyscalculia and worked with a lot of things like budgets. Um, but the importance of neurodiversity means that we recognize and value these differences and understand that they're essential aspects of human diversity. And it encourages creating environments that support and empower neurodivergent individuals by adapting educational approaches and using varied teaching methods to cater to different learning styles. It helps with workplace inclusion by designing inclusive workspaces and providing accommodations to support neurodivergent employees. and bringing public awareness and raising awareness about neurodiversity to help remove some stigma and promote acceptance. And then just overall understanding diversity helps create a more inclusive society where everyone can thrive and contribute their unique strengths. So it's about celebrating the richness that different ways of thinking and experiencing the world brings to our collective human experience. But some of the mental health challenges among neurodivergent individuals is way more prevalent than you might think. Neurodivergent individuals often experience mental health conditions at a much higher rate compared to their neurotypical peers. Some of the most common mental health challenges include anxiety, depression, stress, and several factors contribute to this increased prevalence. First of all, there are biological factors. The neurodivergent brain just functions differently, which can sometimes predispose individuals to certain mental health conditions. For example, neurochemical imbalances associated with ADHD can also contribute to anxiety and mood disorders. Then there are the social factors. This is where I have the most problems, and that's experiencing social rejection, bullying, or isolation, and that can significantly impact mental health. Neurodivergent individuals might struggle with social interactions and communication, and that leads to feelings of loneliness and exclusion. And I'm always working through this almost on a daily basis. If I hear people whispering, I've just come to a place where I assume it's about me because historically I discovered that as a kid that it was, but doesn't mean that that's true now. So there are also co-occurring, I usually call them comorbidity conditions. Many neurodivergent individuals experience co-occurring conditions such as autism and ADHD, which can complicate their mental health landscape. And managing multiple conditions simultaneously can be particularly challenging. It's also hard to get a correct diagnosis when there are several symptoms crossing paths with each other. So, for example, I have the old traditional name of Asperger's, so I'm autistic. I also have trouble with ADHD, and I also have synesthesia, to name a couple. So then there's the impact of societal expectations. Societal norms and expectations put immense pressure on the neuro individuals to conform, which can be mentally and emotionally exhausting. So, as related to the pressure to conform, neurodivergent individuals often feel a lot of pressure to mask or hide their differences to fit with societal norms. And this masking can lead to significant stress and anxiety, as constantly suppressing one's true self really takes a toll on mental health and keeps you from being authentic. And then there's stigma and misunderstanding. There's still a lot of that surrounding neurodiversity. There's misconceptions and stereotypes that can lead to discrimination and prejudice, further affecting the mental well being of neurodivergent individuals. And I really struggled to come out and be open about the fact that I was autistic because I believe there's enough stigma out there that I was afraid I would be thought of as being less than my peers. And so that leads me to the academic and workplace expectations. Traditional academic and workplace environments are often not designed with neurodiversity in mind. And that leads to challenges in meeting expectations. So this can result in feelings of inadequacy. Oh, apologies, folks, coughing fit. So back to the academic and workplace expectations. Traditional workplace environments, they're not really designed with neurodiversity in mind, not normally. And that leads to challenges for the neurodivergent in meeting expectations. It can leave individuals feeling inadequate or having low self esteem, and especially suffering from burnout, not just typical burnout, but there's also neurodivergent burnout. And then there's sensory overload. Sensory, especially sensory sensitivities are common among neurodivergent individuals, especially those with autism and ADHD. Sensory overload occurs when the brain is overwhelmed by sensory input. Things like loud noises, bright lights, strong smells, and this can lead to anxiety and panic. Sensory overload can trigger anxiety and panic attacks, and the ability to escape or control overwhelming stimuli can cause significant distress. And then it can also cause fatigue because constantly having to navigate sensory challenges, it can be really exhausting, and that leads to mental and physical fatigue. And this can, in fact, daily functioning and overall well-being. I know that when I was much younger, uh, in my teens and my college years, even into my 30s, I struggled a lot with a lot of sounds because everything sounds the same to me. And so it became overwhelming to go to public places like the mall or skating parties when I was really young, um, any kind of major get-togethers, restaurants. I've learned over the years that that's what's happening with me, and I still struggle to not talk so loud, thinking that I'm trying to talk over everybody else. I don't have to. Everybody else hears normally. I just need to talk normal. But it's still a lot of work, and sometimes at the end of an event, I am really tired. And then there's a lot of executive function challenges, as I talked about. I'm still wearing my baseball cap. And that refers to the mental processes that help us just like plan, focus attention, remember instructions, juggle multiple tasks. Neurodivergent individuals often face these challenges, and that can affect their mental health in several ways. When it comes to organization and planning difficulties, struggling with organization and planning can lead to a sense of chaos and overwhelm, and that can result in stress and anxiety, as well as difficulties in just managing daily tasks and responsibility. It's easy for neurodivergent people to get flustered when it becomes overwhelming. And then there's difficulties in estimating how long tasks will actually take and managing time effectively, which can cause chronic lateness and missed deadlines. And that can create a sense of stress, guilt, and anxiety, especially when there's not been great communication and the misunderstanding of what the problem is and how the solution should be carried out. So it's important to have open dialogues around the expectations for um, getting work tasks done. And then there's a lot of impulsivity and difficulty in regulating emotion. And that's really common with conditions like ADHD. And these challenges can lead to impulse decisions, mood swings, and difficulties in managing stress and frustration. The other thing that I have discovered is I can do things way faster than I thought I could. And when I perceive that an event or a task will take a long time, I tend to procrastinate and put it off, and then it just hangs over me for way too long. And I've learned slowly over the last, call it year, that I should just try and see how fast it takes me because a lot of times I'm way more efficient than I realize. So it's really crucial to address all of these mental health challenges to support the neurodivergent individuals effectively. We're going to talk a little bit about some of those specifics in a minute, but here's a top line summary of some of these strategies. I've talked multiple times about creating supportive environments, sensory friendly spaces, flexible schedules, accommodations tailored to individual needs that reduce stress and anxiety, access to mental health services, and providing those mental health professionals who understand neurodiversity and can offer targeted support and interventions. And then there's just education and awareness that can help reduce stigma and promote understanding, which will lead to more inclusive environments, and then developing coping strategies. Teaching neurodivergent individuals these strategies, such as mindfulness, relaxation techniques, organizational tools that can help them manage their mental health more effectively. So, by understanding and addressing all of the challenges, we can definitely get a more inclusive and supportive society for neurodivergent individuals. And that will help promote their mental well being and overall quality of life. So, the neurodivergent individuals, they often face a range of mental health conditions, and understanding these conditions is crucial for providing effective support. This is coming from the National Health Service Dorset. They report that neurodivergent individuals often face unique challenges that can impact their mental health. It's crucial to create environments that not only accommodate their needs, but also celebrate their unique strengths. And by fostering understanding and acceptance, we can help reduce the stigma and provide the support they need to thrive. This means implementing tailored strategies such as flexible work arrangements, sensory friendly spaces, and access to mental health resources, and that recognize and respect their differences. When we embrace neurodiversity, we unlock a wealth of creativity, innovation, and resilience that can benefit everyone. I'll give the link to the NHS Dorset on my show notes so that you can go and look at their webpage. They have a lot of surrounding neurodivergence and how to create a more inclusive workspace and educational environment. So, the anxiety among neurodivergent individuals is incredibly prevalent. It's a common mental health condition among those with ADHD, autism, dyslexia, and other conditions. And research suggests that anxiety disorders are significantly more prevalent in neurodivergent populations compared to neurotypical ones. And here are some reasons for this increased prevalence. Back to the neurological differences, brain chemistry and functioning in neurodivergent individuals can predispose them to anxiety. For instance, individuals with ADHD might have imbalances in neurotransmitters like dopamine and norepinephrine, which are linked to anxiety. And then there's coping with the differences. This constantly navigating a world designed for neurotypical individuals can really be challenging. And the effort to manage daily tasks, social interactions, and sensory inputs can lead to chronic stress and anxiety. And then again, as I mentioned, the co-occurring or comorbidity conditions, when they're having to also with someone with autism that also has sensory processing issues, and that can lead to heightened anxiety levels. So, what triggers these anxiety situations? The sensory overload occurs when one or more of the body's senses are overstimulated by the environment. And that's a common trigger for anxiety among neurodivergent individuals, especially those with autism and ADHD. That would include things like bright lights, loud noises, strong smells, busy environments, fluorescent lighting in an office, or the noise of a crowded classroom can be really distressing. Um, Cumulative effect. So there's this sensory overload just doesn't happen as a one-off event. It can occur over with multiple stimuli all at once. Think of like a restaurant that's busy and crowded with a lot of overwhelming smells. And it may be that a person might tolerate it for a while, but then you add in the bright lights or a band playing, then it just becomes unbearable and it can even not only lead to anxiety, but also panic attacks. And so some neurodivergent individuals use coping mechanisms like wearing noise canceling headphones, even like earbuds to kind of deafen the noise just a bit, or seeking quiet spaces, avoiding certain environments at all. Sometimes if they've had a really busy full day full of meetings and it's just too much, and then you compound trying to go out at night, it's just like, you know what, I just don't want to go. So, social interactions can be another significant source of anxiety. Just navigating the social norms and expectations can be really challenging. There are the social communication differences, especially like folks with autism. They might find it difficult to interpret social cues, managing eye contact, engaging in small talk that doesn't make sense to them. This can lead to anxiety about social interactions and then fear of negative judgment or misunderstanding. And there are a lot of ways, like if you're always trying to figure out, do I stare between their eyebrows because they're afraid of looking at, do I look at their nose? Do I look off to the left or the right? And then you're so focused on trying to manage that that you didn't even hear what was being said. Then there's this fear of rejection. Experiences of social rejection or bullying, especially in educational environments, that can leave really lasting impacts. I heard a quote one time that that which goes in young goes in deep, and or maybe also said that which goes in first goes in deep. Neurodivergent individuals might worry about being misunderstood or excluded, and that leads to social anxiety. I know that's what's true for me. And then there's performance pressure. Social situations that require a performance where you think you have to be a certain way. Anything to do with public speaking, participating in group discussions can be particularly anxiety inducing. The fear of making mistakes or being judged can heighten anxiety levels. I practice just regular, everyday conversations all the time. And if I think there's going to be a meeting, I'll practice what I think the conversation will be about, what questions I think I can ask. Uh, I have started, I would say over the last couple of years, preemptively just calling myself the village idiot, whether it's true or not, just so that I can manage my expectations and other people. Um, but then you can then end up coming across as someone who doesn't know anything, and when in fact I do, but I use self-deprecating humor quite a bit in order to mitigate what I think might be judgments. And we'll talk more sometime about self-deprecating humor and the consequences that it might have as you're trying to work through promotions, work through your career, whether or not there's a job that you want to get. We really need to be conscious of the self-deprecating method of presenting ourselves to the world. So let's talk a little bit about managing anxiety in neurodivergent individuals. I just want to repeat, I'm not a therapist. I'm a coach, but addressing anxiety in neurodivergent individuals, it requires a really comprehensive approach that includes understanding their unique triggers and then implementing supportive strategies. So we've talked about the supportive environments, about the sensory-friendly spaces, flexible schedules, etc. Then there's therapeutic interventions. Um, they'll probably want to look into a therapist that understands what cognitive behavioral therapy is and having it tailored for neurodivergent individuals. And then there are things like mindfulness practices and relaxation techniques that can help manage anxiety. Therapy can focus on building coping strategies and resilience. Then there are social skills training. Helping neurodivergent individuals develop social skills and confidence can reduce anxiety related to social interactions. Role playing, social stories, peer support groups, those can be really effective. This is where, as a coach, I can come in and be helpful, especially when I have been through what most neurodivergent individuals have also been through. I know what I was before, and I know how I am now, and how much more I'm able to interact with the outside world. And then also education and awareness, which is another platform that I'm trying to advocate through with my podcast. Just increasing awareness and understanding of neurodiversity among peers, educators, and employers can create a more inclusive and supportive environment. And that can help reduce anxiety. Just knowing that you're accepted, that you're seen, and you're appreciated for where you are. So, by recognizing and addressing these triggers, we can create a supportive environment that can help neurodivergent individuals manage their anxiety and lead fulfilling lives. Understanding and empathy from those around them are crucial in this process. So then there's depression in the neurodivergent. There's the impact of feeling misunderstood or unsupported. And those with ADHD, autism, dyslexia, etc., they often feel misunderstood and feel like there's a lack of support. It can contribute significantly to depression. There's isolation and alienation. When neurodivergent individuals feel that their experiences and perspectives are not understood or valued, they end up isolating themselves. And this sense of alienation can be deeply distressing. For instance, an autistic individual may struggle with social cues and feel they're constantly misunderstood by their peers, and that can lead to feelings of loneliness, even when they're amongst their friends. And then there's a lack of appropriate support in environments where there is little awareness or accommodation for neurodiversity. Neurodivergent individuals may not receive the support they need. This lack of support can exacerbate feelings of helplessness and worthlessness. For example, a student with dyslexia might not get the necessary academic accommodations, and that can make learning an uphill battle and really affect their confidence. And then there's the emotional toil. This continuous effort to conform to neurotypical standards or to mask neurodivergent traits can really be exhausting and emotionally draining. And this constant masking can lead to burnout and contribute to depressive symptoms. Neurodivergent individuals might feel that they are living a double life, which can lead to a profound sense of disconnection from themselves and others. And then there are the challenges with self esteem and self worth. There's a lot of low self esteem and self worth issues among neurodivergent individuals, and that's a key factor in the development of depression. There's a negative self perception because they've grown up in environments where their differences were highlighted as deficits. This can lead to internalized negative self perceptions. A child with ADHD might be frequently reprimanded for their hyperactivity, and that can lead to them believing they are bad or even unmanageable. This happened a lot in the 50s to the 70s, and there's much more to come about that from my side. But a lot of neurodivergent individuals were permanently hospitalized in sanatoriums a while back. And then I know this happened for me. A lot of my other neurodivergent peers also found themselves getting compared to their neurotypical peers. And that constant comparison can really erode self-esteem. Neurodivergent individuals might feel they're always falling short or failing to meet expectations. For example, a person with executive function challenges might struggle with tasks that seem easy for others, leading to feelings of inadequacy. Simple things like just getting up and remembering to take a shower that day. So, internalizing the stigma, then the societal stigma that's all around can be internalized and can cause individuals to feel shame or embarrassment about their neurodivergent traits. And this internalized stigma can prevent them from seeking help or advocating for themselves. And that further compounds the feeling of depression. You can imagine someone with Tourette's who sometimes can't help that they are blurting things out. And it doesn't mean that they are mentally have a mental deficit. It just they have a different mental wiring. And then there's a lack of recognition for their strengths. If you focus on the challenges rather than the strengths, it can negatively impact self-worth. Neurodivergent individuals often possess very unique strengths and talents that go unrecognized or undervalued in traditional settings. A person, again, with dyslexia might have exceptional creative abilities, but if they're not acknowledged, they might feel undervalued, discouraged. They might feel like they might have underpinnings of reading problems when in actuality they're really great at um, delegating, coming up with new and novel ways of accomplishing things. And we can address the depression in individuals um, by fostering understanding and acceptance, especially educating society about neurodiversity, can reduce the stigma and promote acceptance. Understanding that neurodivergent traits are natural variations, and that can be a very supportive environment. Providing the adequate support through academics, workplace adjustments, mental health services, building self-esteem and self-worth by just helping these individuals recognize and celebrate their strengths to boost their self-esteem. And that understand for them to understand that they're valued and that overutilizing what they do well, that fosters a great sense of self-worth. And then I just did an episode on this about promoting self-advocacy, empowering neurodivergent individuals to advocate for their needs and preferences that can enhance their sense of control and agency. And this can involve teaching self-advocacy skills and providing opportunities for them to use those skills. And that's where, again, I as a coach can come in and help. I'm not a therapist. I can't help with the depression and the anxiety, but I can help you learn how to self-advocate. So, by addressing all of these challenges and providing comprehensive support, we can help neurodivergent individuals manage depression and move their overall well-being. And that can create more inclusive and understanding environments to foster mental health and resilience. So I've mentioned stress in a general sense, but the stress for neurodivergent individuals surrounds things like the executive function challenges, which is relative to the cognitive processes that include working memory, flexible thinking, self-control. These skills are essential in managing daily life to do things like planning, organizing, and completing tasks. Neurodivergent individuals often face challenges with executive function, and that can be very stressful. It impacts planning and organization. You delayed taking your shower, you procrastinated doing some things, just organizing your day. It results in missed deadlines, forgotten appointments, general sense of chaos. The inability to effectively plan and organize can be overwhelming and stressful. And then that just leads to frustration and feelings of inadequacy. A lot of time management issues. I am a certified time management and productivity coach, and I have learned a lot about better ways to estimate how long tasks will take and managing my time effectively. I've gotten to be a master at using my calendar. But neurodivergent individuals without those skills might find themselves constantly running late, again, missing deadlines, spending too much time on unimportant tasks. This mismanagement of time can cause stress when they try to then rush to complete tasks. And then that makes them feel very unproductive. And a big one is just task initiation and completion. There's a lot of procrastination. I have worked very diligently at understanding why I procrastinate and how to overcome those things. But starting and completing tasks can be particularly difficult for neurodivergent individuals. It's this inability to transition from one activity to another, and to get started on a task can lead to procrastination and a buildup of unfinished work. And this creates a cycle of stress and anxiety as the tasks begin to pile up. Then impulsivity and emotional regulation are all part of that same executive functioning. Those difficulties in regulating emotions are very common with conditions like ADHD. And they tend to make impulsive decisions that complicate their lives, that lead to stress. And then additionally, managing these intense emotions like frustration and anger can also be challenging and contribute to even more increased stress level. So it's really important to understand and learn how to manage daily routines and tasks. Um, Developing daily routines, checklists, they are crucial strategies for reducing stress and overall well-being. There are those structured routines. Creating a structured routine can help definitely provide a sense of predictability and control. Consistent routines help reduce cognitive load required to make decisions throughout the day, and that can minimize stress. And so, for example, if you have a morning routine, that can help start the day on a positive note and set the tone for the rest of the day. And then visual aids and tools. Utilizing visual aids such as planners, calendars, and task lists can help neurodivergent individuals stay organized and on track. And these tools can break down tasks into smaller, manageable steps and provide visual reminders of what needs to be done. For instance, a visual schedule can help individuals plan their day and reduce anxiety of forgetting the important things. And then there are prioritization techniques, learning to prioritize effectively using things like the Eisenhower matrix, which categorizes tasks into urgent and important quadrants and can help stay focused on what truly matters. This prioritization helps manage time better and reduce stress by feeling overwhelmed by too many tasks. And then also breaking tasks into micro steps. When you take a big task and you break it down into the tinier ones and the more manageable ones, this approach not only helps make tasks more approachable, but also provides a sense of accomplishment with each completed step. Then incorporating breaks and downtime, knowing that you're not going to have to work for 8 hours straight with no break. It's really important to know that you can take regular breaks and have downtime in a daily routine. And that's crucial for preventing burnout. Uh, a lot of neurodivergent individuals benefit from strategies like the Pomodoro method, which involves working for a set period of time, for example, 25 minutes, followed by a short break. And these breaks can help charge and maintain and manage focus. So then having support networks is a key part. Uh, a network of friends, family, especially professionals, can provide emotional and practical support. Just having someone that you can turn to for advice, encouragement, or simply to talk can alleviate stress and provide a sense of community. So, by addressing these executive function challenges and implementing effective strategies for managing daily routines and tasks, neurodivergent individuals can significantly reduce stress and enhance their quality of life. It's just about finding the right tools and techniques that work for each individual and creating an environment that supports their unique needs. Um, I would like to, we've spent a lot of time talking about the mental health problems and how they manifest for the neurodivergent. But there have been some successes, and it's really important to take a look at some famous people that have been super successful in their lives, but also are neurodivergent and are successful because they're neurodivergent. For example, Emma Watson, who is an actress and the UN Goodwill Ambassador, she's spoken very openly about her experiences with ADHD, and she has highlighted the importance of supportive environments and mental health resources in helping manage her condition. And then there's Dan Harmon, the creator of the TV show Community. He has shared his journey with autism, and he's emphasized how understanding and acceptance from his peers in mental health professionals have played a crucial role in his success. Greta Thunberg, the climate activist, has been very vocal about her experiences with autism and OCD, and she has credited supportive environments and mental health professionals for helping her channel her energy into impactful activism. Albert Einstein, believed to have had traits of autism, has inspired many with this story of overcoming challenges and achieving greatness through supportive educational environments and his unique way of thinking. Bill Gates has openly discussed his ADHD, and he has highlighted how supportive environments and tailored strategies have helped him harness his creativity and drive to build one of the most successful companies, as we all know. So these stories illustrate importance of understanding. You can find links to all of them in my show notes. I'll include them there. And you can go read more about these people and how they've been successful as neurodivergents and have actually thrived through supportive environments and through help. There are also some community initiatives that you can reach out to. For example, the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network, children and adults with attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder called CHAD, Feeling Kind of Blue, Different Brains. These are all Different Brains is a nonprofit dedicated to neurodiversity, and they offer mentorship programs and resources and support for individuals with lots of different neurodivergent conditions. So there's also successful initiatives and some of their impacts have been like SANS advocacy efforts, Chad's educational content, Feeling Kind of Blues community building, and Different Brains mentorship programs. So I will include all of those in my show notes so that you can reach out to these if you're having some your own mental health challenges and or you would like more advocacy and building your own network. So I'd like to repeat, I am not a therapist or a licensed mental health professional. I hope all this information that you and insights that I've given have been helpful for you and that they give you some education and informational uh, data points, but they're not professional advice and they are not a diagnosis. I just want to give you the resourcing, whether you're a neurotypical person supporting someone that is neurodivergent, or you're neurodivergent yourself and you're looking for more advocacy. uh, I want this to be informational and a way for you to help build what looks like support for you. So, I hope that supporting the mental well-being of the neurodivergent individuals, I do believe that it's essential for fostering an inclusive and understanding society. And by addressing these unique challenges and providing effective support, we can promote mental health and well-being for everybody. So if you have a mental health need, again, please reach out to a therapist or visit the associations I mentioned for more information and assistance. And I just want to thank all of you for joining me today on this episode of Inside the Pickle Jar. I do hope you found everything really helpful. I will hope that we all continue to advocate mental health for support and understanding in our communities. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, share it with others who might benefit. You can also find me on social media for more insights and updates. Also, sign up for my newsletter called Taco Tuesday, where I share tips on productivity and personal relationships. Each week, you'll get exclusive content and tips and updates straight to your inbox. It's a great way for us to just keep staying connected and continue on our journey together. You can go to my website, risingtidecoaching.org, and enter your name, and you'll get that straight to your inbox. And then, additionally, I'm slowly converting all my podcast episodes into YouTube videos, if you prefer that format. If you're watching me, especially this episode, I did record both video and audio for this one. I will go back and for the first 10 episodes or so, I will put them on YouTube with some visuals for you to watch, but just to kind of get everything into different format for people. You can find a link to my channel in the show notes if you're listening to the podcast. Uh, so then, until next time, I hope that we all can keep it simple, keep mentally healthy, and stay focused. I enjoyed doing this for all of you, and have an awesome day.